Well, it is 6:50 p.m. evening on Wednesday, January 18th, 2025. And the Dr. Drew show today is doing a video titled Fentanyl Invasion. Fentanyl from China fuels United States homelessness, enters country via corrupt Canadian officials with Sam Cooper and Alex Michelson. It's so in our face. I've been saying this for quite a while right now, all right? First off, multiple countries make the precursors or the ingredients which are used in the overall manufacturing pipeline of fentanyl. And the United States cannot stop other countries from making fentanyl. All the United States needs to do as a first step is to say, hey, there are lethally laced drugs on the streets. Please watch out for repressed pills. If you use opioids, use them responsibly. Here's guidance if you have an addiction problem and you need help dealing with that. There's a multitude of things which can be done because given how lethal fentanyl is, how small it is, it's going to be very difficult to stop it from coming in. So instead of spending one damn minute just talking about the overall death numbers and how they were used to suggest we had a deadly novel virus made in China in a laboratory or out of a cave, they won't mention that. They won't mention how they are using life expectancy drops from an engineered opioid epidemic to drive their deadly novel virus narrative. And now as the heat gets up, as I expected, they're going to turn around and blame it all on China. Even though just as many of the components are made in India. We have a National Institutes of Health and an HHS director that ignore the opioid epidemic problem. They won't talk about the magnitude of it. They won't put it into context. They're willing to use deaths of Americans, young Americans, to paint their deadly novel virus narrative. And then, because they're all supported by the pro-India, anti-China, independent citizen media, starting with Steve Bannon all the way down, it's so easy to see. They're all in the same boat. And now they're going to blame all of it on China. Instead of just one day. They won't spend 1 hour. They won't spend 10 minutes highlighting how they used an engineered opioid epidemic that killed hundreds of thousands of people and drove down life expectancy to drive their deadly novel virus narrative. As a matter of fact, they're even using the narrative that they created and they're blaming on China for engineering a virus. Misery drives the opioid crisis. It does to some extent. The thing is, you ever hear of instant angels? There's a phrase of young people in America that have died who were not addicts. Just kids messing around. There's a collection of people. There's thousands, tens of thousands of non-addicts, young people that have died from fentanyl exposure. Then there is the people who have got addicted because they were exposed to way too many opioids too long of a period of time and then cut off, such as an athlete or someone getting their wisdom teeth pulled or having back surgery. Of course, then there's the cases of military personnel. There's a variety of different situations. There's no really one bucket, and the desperation is part of it. However, a surprising number of people who are middle class or higher have died. I don't think that the 18-year-old that died of a drug overdose, of the previous YouTube CEO, what was her last name? Washiki? I don't think her son was wanton of any money. Of course, his life was already threatened by the daughter of Sasha Latipova, but we don't need to remind everyone of that. But as expected, they're now going to say fentanyl from China fuels U.S. homelessness. How about houses that cost several $100,000 are driving U.S. homelessness? Let's start there. Let's start with the fact that you need a ridiculous salary to buy a middle-class home right now in the United States of America and maintain it. Let's start there. Let's start with obscene rents relative to incomes. Let's start there. There's a lot of other reasons for homelessness as well. Is the drug problem a part of it? That's a complicated question. There's a lot of people who are homeless right now who are not addicts. So they're just throwing everything into the heap right now and saying it's all China. No. It's actually his fault. It's his fault. And it's Dr. Drew's fault. And it's most of the alt media's fault because while I've been given everything I've had in this microphone since 2020 and earlier to try to clarify what the extent of the problem, following the problem as it got worse, everyone else chose to ignore it or laugh at it because they are paid to hide the fact that they used an opioid epidemic as part of driving their deadly novel virus narrative. These bastards know that young people were murdered, and they believe it was for the best of the country or the best of civilization or something, or best for their pocketbooks, because they needed enough young people to die to offset the fact that so many 80 and 90-year-olds were just being taken out early. And they needed enough young people to die to say life expectancy was going down because of the virus. They murdered people. That is why the United States Department of Justice dropped charges on Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, in 2007. They could have cleaned this mess up a long time ago. They were told to drop the charges and allow it to happen. Dr. Drew, I shook this asshole's hand at one point. How disgusting is that? I thanked Dr. Drew for for at least in the past anyways, talking about the issue, and I encouraged him to do it more. And you know what he does? He spits in our face. Now he's going to say, oh, it's all China. No, it's Dr. Drew's fault by having person after person after person after person, jerk after asshole after dimwit after worthless soul after liarous traitor after whatever, heathen, on his program day after day, allowing them to use the deaths of people who died from opioids to suggest we had a deadly novel virus. It's Dr. Drew's fault. If he had the masculinity enough to be able to call it out, even though it would have made people a little uncomfortable back in 2020 or 21, what the statistical role was of the opioid epidemic, a lot of people perhaps wouldn't have died. But nope, Dr. Drew takes money to lie about why people die. Just like Jane Ruby. Jane Ruby takes money to lie about why people die. Just like Jessica Rose. Jessica Rose takes money to lie about why people die. All of them. Kevin McKernan, that little rat mouse, whatever, jerky leaks thing, they take money to lie about why people die. Unethical skeptic. They take money to lie about why people die. All of them. They've been doing it. This is the 6th effing year of taking money to lie about why people die. And they're doing it again. Now it's all China. Look, I have a video holding the effing tablet that was next to the other tablet that killed my stepson. You think I'm just going to, just for the hell of it, want to stand up for China if they were actually responsible for that? If anyone has some goddamn credibility with respect to that subject, it's me. And it's not China's fault. Matter of fact, it's not even India's fault. It is the fault of Americans and traitors who take money to lie about why people die. That's whose fault it is. George Webb, Paul Cottrell, Kevin McCairn, Steve Bannon, all these assholes, they take money to lie about why people die. And that is why the deaths happen. While they were clobbering everyone with all this stupid information about deadly novel virus and what did China do, and Ralph Barrick and Peter Daszak and all the, and then there's this Boston professor and then the patents, and they're doing it for the money, and none of them were willing to put the drug epidemic into perspective. None of them. They took money to lie about why people die. And by doing so, they themselves allowed more people to die. China couldn't have killed one soul in the United States of America with fentanyl if it wasn't for independent citizen journalists who take money to lie about why people die. They are the enemies of the United States of America. And now Dr. Drew is just throwing, now it's proof. Fentanyl invasion. It's all China. I'm telling you what. These people are horrible, horrible human beings. Now I know why they're all okay outsourcing the United States government to lying, traitorous people. Liars like liars. They all get along. There's a total void of anyone willing to talk truth, and we have our entire National Institutes of Health right now unwilling to put this something that killed 1 out of every 30 people, mostly young, for 5 consecutive years into any context. They want to blame it on a virus. They want to blame it on a rushed medicine. They want to blame it on what, people's hygiene? Seriously, they will not bring it up. They want to blame it on difficulty getting grants and writing papers, on a roadblock to innovation at the FDA. None of them will say it because they all take money to lie about why people die. And by doing so, they themselves are the key to allowing all of the death and the catastrophe and the pain and murder to happen. Because if it was not for them, it wouldn't have happened. Dr. Drew is a traitorous, awful human being. Look at that face, everybody. Look at that face of Dr. Drew. Because you know what? That face is why people are in the ground right now. That face is why people were turned into ashes because they died. Because this message of fentanyl, of contaminated drugs, was buried and was not allowed to get any visibility unless you could blame it on the chinks. These horrible, horrible human beings. They take money to lie about why people die.